In 1954, through the hard work of Candy and Jimmy Van Allen, the USTA sanctioned this beautiful place as the National Lawn Tennis Hall of Fame. But beginning in 1977, individuals from the worldwide tennis community became eligible for the induction into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. For over 50 years, the International Tennis Hall of Fame has preserved the history of our great sport and continues to honor the legacies of the individuals who embody its traditions. Today, we honor four very talented individuals who exemplify the greatest traditions of our sport: athleticism, sportsmanship, passion, and perseverance. Their accomplishments, both on and off the tennis court, are the reason why we are honoring them here today. But first, there are some very special guests seated here on the Bill Talbert Stadium court who have come from near and far to help us salute our 2007 induction class. It is my pleasure to introduce them. First, the families and friends. They have seen them at their best, at their worst, but they've supported, encouraged, and loved them no matter what. They have come here today to be a part of this special celebration. I would first like to ask the families of our inductees to please stand and be recognized. The families of our inductees, please. Thank you very much and welcome. And now I'd like to ask the friends of our inductees to please rise at this very special occasion. Thank you and welcome. Now, seated to my left are a group of individuals who, through their tireless dedication and leadership, have helped the International Tennis Hall of Fame grow into the marvelous institution that it is today. We have grown and flourished through the years because of their support and their guidance. Please join me in recognizing the Executive Committee of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. Seated directly behind me is our official party. It's my pleasure to recognize the Chairman of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, Mr. Wick Simmons, and Chairman of the Executive Committee, Mr. Chris Klauser. We're also happy to have some Hall of Famers with us. The 1971 inductee, Vic Seixas. 1987 Hall of Famer, Stan Smith. The 2005 inductee, Butch Buchholz. (1976 Hall of Famer, Dick Savitt. 1996 inductee, Rosie Casals. (2005 Hall of Famer, Jim Courier. And finally, our 1994 inductee, Bud Collins. And now it gives me great pleasure to begin our tribute to our contributor inductee, an acclaimed and dedicated photographer who has visually documented the history of tennis for the past 50 years.
Let's rejoin the ceremony
to introduce
now
Russ
at Bill
today
Talbert
is his
Center
longtime
Court.
friend, Hall of Famer, Mr. Bud Collins.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you all for being here. This is our annual Fiesta of the Fuzzy Ball, and it brings us together in our fascination and love for this game and those who have been its champions. Russ Adams and I go back a little while, maybe a half century, when we were both kids working for the long-gone Boston Herald. Our first assignments were covering fires. You don't want to ever cover a fire. You have to throw away your clothing afterwards. It always has that smell. But we found tennis to have a much nicer odor. Russ didn't know a tennis ball from a corn ball when he came out to his first tournament, but he learned fast. He's now celebrated across the world. He's had more than 300 magazine covers, every continent where the game is played. He has a wonderful background. I can't go into all of it, but he was in planes for the Air Force that flew over the Soviet Union and kind of spied on them. He was shot at a few times. Well, that happens. That was all part of the game. He is also one of the leading high steel photographers. Can you imagine Russ climbing around on those girders to get the pictures? But he did it. He's done so many things, but when he got into tennis, he found that was his milieu. And he has taken so many marvelous photos. We've all seen them, even though we might not have known. He took them everywhere he went. And he was also a photographer in haute couture in Paris, taking the models. His wife, Betty, was pretty tolerant of that one, but she said, get back to the athletes. And so he did. He took Boston greats like Bob Cousy, Bobby Orr, Ted Williams, and I could go on and on. But today at breakfast, a woman said to him, Mr. Adams, are you nervous? He never gets nervous. Imagine being on the top of the Hancock Tower and looking down. Imagine being over the Soviet Union and looking up for the flag. This guy doesn't get nervous. And of all the 4 inductees, he's the only one who still has a job. Russ Adams.
Thank you, Bud. Hall of Famers, class of '07, executive committee, and my wife over there, Betty Jo. She's been with me and made this course too for the last 57 years. I've enjoyed tennis, and as Bud said, I went out the first time with the junior tournament, Mrs. Whiteman of the Whiteman Cup, and also a member of the Hall of Fame, and she took me out, a couple of juniors, where they played 4 games. She stood next to me, and every time that I was supposed to take a photograph, she'd whack me. Well, I took a couple myself. I thought it was a little better timing. And she says, now you're an expert. And I said, no, but I'll be back tomorrow and we'll have a chance to look at it. So that's how my experience started with tennis. And it has been a great pleasure. Now, we have photographers sitting over here working. That wasn't allowed when I first started. But after Arthur Ashe won the Open, the next year, Rod Laver was going for the Grand Slam. And Mr. Talbot, Billy Talbot, he was the director of the U.S. Open at that time. He came and he said, I got 59 photographers coming. Where do we put them? I said, on the court. No, sir. Well, with a long discussion, we finally put the gentlemen out on the court, and they've been able to do what photography could do for tennis as far as showing great photographs. And they're still doing it, and they're still allowing us, with the restrictions there should be on anybody, not to interfere with the game. I've enjoyed it, and I know that every photographer has had an opportunity to work and do a nice job. I have tried to help on the growth of tennis anytime that I could in any way. And I am very pleased and honored that I was nominated and elected the first time a photographer had this. And I sure do appreciate it, and I want to thank you very much.
Right there, my man. So take that terrible coat off. Russ Hall of Fame blazer and your induction certificate. Welcome to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, our Hall of Famer, Russ Adams. Yeah. Comes to us from Sweden.
Welcome back to Bill Talbert, center court. Let's go
He was
back
the first
now to
Swede
the
to win a
induction
Grand Slam
ceremonies.
title in 1957 at the French Open. From 1950 to 1961, he was a member of the Swedish Davis Cup team and still holds the Swedish record for most Davis Cup doubles wins. Please rise for the playing of the Swedish national anthem in honor of Sven Davidson. Thank you, and please be seated. To introduce Sven today is a gentleman who also had a distinguished Davis Cup record and tennis career. Please welcome Hall of Famer Vic Satius. Victor.
Thank you, Tony. You took my speech away. Anyway, in 1950, on the center court at Wimbledon, in the first day of the tournament, I met Sven Davidson. 1950, we've been friends, good friends, for 57 years since then. And I think prior to Bjorn Borg, Sven was the greatest tennis player Sweden ever produced, and he still has many records, the first of which is what Tony said, the first Grand Slam winner from Sweden. He also won the French singles title in 1957 and the Wimbledon doubles title with Ulf Schmidt in 1958. He's in the Swedish Hall of Fame, and he represented Sweden for 10 years in the Davis Cup with a record of 62 wins and 23 losses. That's a lot of tournaments. But beyond the tennis playing days, Sven returned to Sweden and helped to create the Swedish Open in 1969, which was the first prize money tournament in Northern Europe. He also is in the Swedish Hall of Fame. I'm happy to see his son and his daughter here today, Sven Jr. and Sven III, sitting on the very end down there, the third generation of Sven. Enough about the tennis. I just would like to say that I've known Sven for so long. We're such good friends, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome him into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Thank you.
I was very moved when the great Vic Sanchez told me that he wanted to introduce me today, and I'm very grateful for his kind words. Thank you, old buddy.
Thank you.
I started hitting balls when I was 4 in a small town in Sweden. My beloved old brother Kurt taught me everything he knew about the game so that I could become his training partner. We could have guessed that this kind of a beginning, who could have guessed that this kind of beginning could define a life? 2 months ago, or 2 quarters ago, I was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. Obviously, this has been devastating to me, my family, and my friends, but I turned 79 years old yesterday. And I've had a very full life, much of which can be attributed to this game I love, tennis. We don't know what the future will hold, but I'm very grateful for this honor and the opportunity to gather with so many of my old friends once again. I also treasure being able to share this day with my friends and family, in particular, my 10-year-old grandson, Sven III. I congratulate my fellow inductees, Arantxa, Pete, and Russ, and I thank the International Hall of Fame President, Tony Trebet, the Hall of Fame Committee, the Hall of Fame staff, and the membership. To all of you, from Sven from Sweden, thank you very much, and skål. Was it acceptable?
Yep.
Where did I say?
Right there. I want your coat. Your coat. I'm undressing. Stay right there. You got it. Sven, we want to thank your daughter Mimi for her support here for you today. We congratulate you. We're happy to give you this blazer and also the certificate for the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Sven Davidson. Well done. Well done.
Very nice to be
Well
known
done.
by you.
Well done. Here, you want to, yeah. We're going to take a picture of you first. Turn around this way for a picture. Get you stand this way, right here. That's it. Stand right there. Look up now. Yeah, Vic, you stand. Our next inductee has captured 14 titles in Grand Slam events, was ranked in the top 10 for 11 years. She is one of only 4 women who have simultaneously held the #1 ranking in singles and doubles. In a career that spanned 18 years, she holds an impressive record of 29 singles titles and 67 doubles titles. Please rise for the playing of the Spanish national anthem in honor of Arantxa Sanchez Vicario. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Our next presenter has known Arantxa since she was 13 years old. She was her manager during her tennis career and continues to be her good friend. Please welcome Stephanie Tollison. Stephanie?
Thank you, Tony. To be inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame is to celebrate the accomplishments of the greatest players who've played our sport. And certainly Arantxa's record, as outlined by Tony, qualifies her to join this prestigious company. But I think that in Arantxa's case, her really enduring legacy is far more emotional than statistical. And I'll tell you why. When Arantxa played tennis, she embodied the phrase, playing with a passion. Every time she went on the court, with her Latin personality and temperament, she created vivid memories that I believe are still etched on the backs of our eyelids. We remember rarely seeing Arantxa leave the courts of Roland Garros without being covered head to toe in red clay. We remember our hearts stopping when she would hit those ridiculous drop shots from 5 feet behind the baseline. And in particular, that one on match point against her on grass at center court at Wimbledon. And we all remember how we felt when Arantxa would run across the court chasing down unreachable shots, hit winners back herself, pump her fist, and scream as loud as she could, "Vamos!" I think that to watch Arantxa Sanchez Vicario play tennis was to rediscover the reason that we all fell in love with this game in the first place. Arantxa's contributions to this sport also extended off the court. Every tournament director in the world knew that you only had to call her one time and she would be there to visit with sponsors, talk with the media, sign autographs for the kids, and do charitable work. And you all should know that she is doing that work again, still today. She's used her image and her celebrity to help raise awareness and funds for her foundation, which builds schools and orphanages and sports facilities in Africa where she visits every year. So when I say that Arantxa's legacy is emotional, I think you understand. It's on the court and off the court that she literally touched the hearts of people all over the world, and none more so than me. I signed Arantxa when she was 13, and within moments she went from being a client to being a friend, and we shared one another's families. And no speech about Arantxa would ever be complete without recognizing her family. To know Arantxa's parents and her siblings, Emilio and Marissa and Javier, is to understand where she got her spirit and to feel the value and the power of a family united by love and nurturing care. I know she shares all of her success with you, and so today I congratulate all of you as well for your induction into the Hall of Fame. It's been a wonderful journey, and I feel so honored that I was able to have a little part of it. Emilio y Marisa, muchas gracias por la oportunidad a trabajar con su hija todos estos años. Ha sido un gran honor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 2007 inductee and my dear, adorable friend, Arantxa Sanchez Vicario.
Good afternoon. First of all, thanks, Stephanie, my manager and friend for many years, since the beginning to the end of my career, for these kind words, and mainly for all the work you have made for me. As a young girl growing up in Barcelona, I have many dreams, and I stand here today accepting this award. I realize that so many of them come true. It is a privilege to be here today and my entry into the Hall of Fame, it's even more special because I am here with Pete Sampras, one of the greatest players in the history of our sport. When I was growing up, my idols were Chris Evert and Martina Navratilova. I watched them along with Bjorn Borg and Jimmy Connors on TV at home in Barcelona. My love for tennis started at a young age, but seeing them great champions winning Grand Slams made me believe that one day I achieve great things in sports as well. So to be asked to join Chris Evert and Martina in the Hall of Fame, like so many others who came before me and paved the way, is truly one of the highlights of my life. Thank you to the Hall of Fame and the members who voted for me. I have fond memories on this special place in Newport. That is where I won my first grass tournament of my professional career in 1990, when I was just 17 years old. Join my countryman Manolo Alonso and my friend Manolo Santana as the third Spaniard in the Hall of Fame is an special honor. But even greater honor is to be the first Spanish woman inducted into the Hall of Fame. Reporters and fans often ask me what I am most proud of. During my 17 years career, there were many moments that stood out. Of course, my first French Open title in 1989 was the best one of them. I was just only 17, and I became the first Spanish woman to win the French Open, and I won it by beating the #1 player in the world, a woman who is now a member of the Hall of Fame, my good friend Steffi Graf. Representing my country has always played an important role in my career. It's always been my honor to represent Spain in international competitions. I played for my country in 16 Fed Cup competitions and 5 Olympic Games. Another proud moment came in 1994 and 1995, a time when I achieved the #1 rankings in both singles and doubles. I knew that is an achievement that very few players have accomplished in this career. Throughout my career, I'll always enjoyed playing both singles and doubles, and I am proud to have played a lot of doubles with many different partners. It taught me to adapt and work with different people. It let me try new things, and it helped me on my singles game. My brothers, Javier and Emilio, play all 3 events at Grand Slams as well. As you all know, tennis is very much tradition in the Sanchez family. I think my parents perhaps paid the highest price at Grand Slam, tried to keep up with their children by running between courts from 10 a.m. until midnight. Tennis can teach you valuable lessons in life. This wonderful sport has taught me that if you work hard and believe in yourself, anything is possible. I am living proof by being here today. Those are obvious things, but I'm proud of some things I did not dream of, some things that I ever expected to learn this sport that I love. As for example, when I received the Príncipe Asturias Sports Award, which is like a Nobel Award back at home in Spain, I became the first and the youngest Spanish woman to achieve it. Tennis let me travel to so many places where I meet people of different cultures from many nations. That experience has shaped who I am as a woman. Tennis is unique. When we get to do that, we love and share it with so many people in so many places. It's just a gift and privilege. And those who I've met, they have shared it with me. I have made many friends over the years, and I know how lucky I am. It is important to share some of the good fortunes with the others. As a woman, I know the importance is for women to be able to compete and be strong, and that we are role models for the girls everywhere around the world. When I was 13, I was playing in the Spanish Nationals and Spanish Championships on Santa Cora. It was the finals, and I was just barely a teenager. The match, it was on clay, on Spanish red clay. My opponent was very good and very consistent, so was I. The points were very long. The match began at 10. 1.5 hours later, I won the first set 7-6. The tournament director arrived and took the net down. He just stopped us playing to move us to a backcourt. I was crying. How could they do that to us? Move the final to the back to make room for the men's final. So they put the men's match on center court. The final was between Sergio Casal and my brother Emilio. We are very close family, but we did not make it any better. I decided that would not happen again. Women's finals will not move to the back court, even if it was to make room for my brother. So I am most proud to be here on the center court tennis history, as the first Spanish woman to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in a year where there is a UCAL prize money at Roland Garros and Wimbledon for the first time. It is wonderful to have been a part of the sports that gives women the opportunity to achieve the recognition and respect that they deserve. And I'm very proud that the Sony Ericsson WTA Championship has in Madrid the past November, and again this year in 2008, I have been able to serve as a WTA ambassador. This year, I was also be able to run a new WTA tournament in Barcelona. How life changed. I am now a tournament director. I have a lot of respect for the tournament directors, and I am learning a different side of the sport. I cannot accept this award without honoring my family. I was so fortunate to have my family, especially my mom, who was traveling with me through many years as she's a mother, as a friend. To be the youngest, some people think there are many things that are not so good, but I thought it was great. I was lucky to have my family, my parents, my sister Marisa, my brothers Javier and Emilio. They will all give me good advice, though sometimes it wasn't the same advice. But they all wanted the best for me, and I love them all for it. They always have been my main support system, and they always will. I just want to thank you all again for this honor. Muchísimas gracias a toda la familia, os quiero mucho. I know everyone here has a love for this special sport. This game you can play when you are young and when you are older. I hope you will join me and work to help tennis grow in Newport, in Spain, and everywhere around the world. Thank you very much.
Give you a blazer and the induction certificate. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Arantxa Sanchez Vicario.
Let's
Our
rejoin
final
now the
inductee
2007
has
Hall of
captured
Fame
a record
induction
14
ceremony on
Grand
center
Slam
court.
singles titles. He held the #1 ranking for a record 286 weeks and was ranked in the top 10 for 12 years. In a career that spanned 15 years, he won 64 singles titles. To introduce Pete Sampras today as his longtime coach and friend, please welcome Paul Annacone.
Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here. And as I pondered how I was going to do this for Pete, I was told that I had 3 minutes to introduce Pete and to summarize what he'd done. And I was really trying to think about it, and I figured that there really wasn't any humanly possible way that was going to happen. And if I even just talked about his tennis, then I'd probably be standing up here a little bit longer than my friend John McEnroe was a few years ago. And it's a little warm for that, so I'll do my best to get through this. But I will do exactly what Pete has always done, and I'll let his record speak for itself. Pete's career has been the antithesis of how he likes to operate, in an understated, no-big-deal manner. Even his charitable efforts for the Tim and Tom Gullickson Foundation, the Vitas Gerulaitis Foundation, Andrea Yeager's Kids Stuff Foundation, and Aces for Charity, Pete keeps his low-profile way. He wants to keep the attention where it's needed, with those afflicted and those battling adversity. Well, Pete, my friend, unfortunately for you today is the day where I have to tell you, guess what? You are a big deal. What you've done is monumental, but more importantly, the way you've done it is a lesson for every athlete, every teacher, every parent, every child, you name it. You've done it with class, you've done it with integrity, and most of all, you've done it with humility. From the 19-year-old, shy 19-year-old, who used to steal all of my son's ice cream out of my refrigerator at Wimbledon, to the champion who walked away with 14 Grand Slam titles, you've inspired me as a friend and as a coach. Even through the most trying of times, you're able to dig deep and pull the best out of yourself, like when your best friend and coach, our beloved Tim Gully, was fighting the good fight. You honored him by winning with heart and soul. This was great medicine not only for Tim, but for all of us. You've inspired me by breaking the men's all-time Grand Slam record by winning Wimbledon virtually on one leg when you couldn't practice or even warm up prior to your matches in 2000. And finally, in the face of all the naysayers, you climbed the highest mountain in 2002, winning the US Open, which was the perfect bookend to an astonishing career. As I look back and think of that September day in 2002, I think you showed us all what a champion is capable of, and indeed, stop on your terms. I felt such a shame for many people who've never understood how Pete made such a difficult endeavor seem like a casual walk in the park. It is truly a gift. But it hasn't always been a walk in the park for Pete. He's had some very difficult defeats through the years, and he's had a lot of things to deal with. And I guess the one thing I want to mention today is that the one loss that really took him a while to get over, which he did, was in 1989. He lost a brutal 3-set grass court match to Paul Annacone at Queens Club. I wasn't sure he could get over it, but he did get over it. And I only mention this today because I promised I could never let him live it down. And I do have to say that I am 1-0 against Pete, even though when I beat him, I think he was 12, but I'll count that. In all seriousness, Pete, you're that rare athlete with the optimum gifts of head, heart, and talent. We're all here to congratulate you, but most of all, we all want to thank you for letting your dreams become the great theater of our reality. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Pete Sampras.
Thanks, Paulie. I'll never forget that loss in '89. It still keeps me up to today. But good afternoon, everyone. I want to like to thank you all for being here today to celebrate this day. It's truly an honor to be officially inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'd also like to congratulate my fellow inductees as well. We're taking a timeless place in the history of the tennis, which is really special. I must say I've always loved the history of the game as much as the game itself. I don't know how or why I picked up a tennis racket at 7, but I did, and it felt natural. My dad. I'd rather be playing tennis right now, so. But my dad, he recognized my talent, and he got me into lessons. And that's where my love affair with the sport began. I remember as a kid hitting balls in our basement. I used to hit at the local park, and as I got older, I saw old tapes of Rod Laver and Ken Rosewall. Now, at the time, I was just fascinated by these guys and how they play their attacking games. But it wouldn't be until later that I would truly appreciate what it takes to be a great champion. Things like the importance of humility and class, sportsmanship and dignity. And fortunately, thanks. Fortunately for me, all these things tapped into my core values and how I was raised. Therefore, I embraced the tradition of the game from the start. In fact, there were times I would think I'm kind of a 50s player living in the 90s. And as a result, I felt a bit misunderstood by some. But by many, I felt embraced and loved. So to my fans, I want to thank you. Your support and mutual respect we have for this great game has always meant a lot to me. Ooh, okay. I come from a very strong and close family. My parents, Sam and Georgia, and my 3 siblings, Gus, Stella, and Marion. My family had no tradition in tennis. Yet from the get-go, my dad gave me every opportunity to play. He did everything in his power to enable me to really play this game of mine. I remember as a kid, my dad taking Stella out to junior tournaments. And as I got older, my mom used to come on the court and hit me balls so I could hit them. And she didn't know what she was doing, but she was great. So they're both involved in my junior game, but they never meddled when it came time for coaches or strategy or strokes. They were more concerned about me playing well and winning, than winning. For example, when I was 14, I had a 2-handed backhand. I switched to a 1-handed backhand. And they encouraged this process. Most people thought I was actually crazy for doing it, and I had moments where I thought maybe it was the wrong thing to do. But it was this big picture thinking like this that would go on to really define my career. So my dad, he was the provider, my mom the nurturer. Having said that, there's a toughness on my mom's score that few have seen. I believe that's where I got my determination and my competitiveness and my drive from my mom. Those are virtues I inherited from somewhere deep under my mom's softness. As for my siblings, throughout my entire life, I've always felt their support, and never once did I feel any jealousy or animosity from any of them, which to me says a lot about our family. They kept my life balanced. They kept my life real. And now that we all share a newfound role as parents, we continue to grow and grow closer and closer. And I admire them with a lot of respect. So to Gus, Stella, and Marion, and to my parents, thank you for supporting me, and it's harder than I thought. Supporting me, for giving me advice, and for reminding me to always have faith. I love you guys, and this moment is a celebration of all of you as much as it is for me. I won my first U.S. Open at 19, and the truth is I wasn't ready for all that came with it. For the better part of 2 years, it went by, in kind of a fog. And the man who helped me through this time was my coach, Tim Gullickson. Tim was tough. He had a no-nonsense, blue-collar approach to the game, and our personalities couldn't have been more different. I was inward. He was the life of the party. But it was Tim who instilled in me a work ethic that I never had. My talent had got me to a certain level, but it was Tim who pushed me to practice hard and to practice with a purpose. He was also the one who got me over the hump at a tournament where I did pretty well, Wimbledon. Truth is, for the first few years in London, I hated grass court tennis. But it was Tim who changed my attitude. He made a few changes technically. And I can honestly say it was Tim who, through his mentality and his work ethic, that got me to be the best player in the world. Our highly productive and wonderful relationship was cut tragically short when Tim was diagnosed with cancer, and in early '95, he was no longer able to travel with me. In one of his last appearances, he attended a Davis Cup tie in Las Vegas. Okay, here we go. And after our victory, the team was packed with the usual people, and there was a lot going on. But at one point, I glanced over at Tim, and our eyes briefly met, and we had a moment like there's no one else in the room. We were both thinking we ought to be here alone together, to savor this. And in a way, I guess we were. That expression in Tim's eyes remains with me to this day. I was with him, and he with me, to the end. I miss him to this day, and I know it's a loss I share with the entire tennis world. During the time when Tim was no longer able to travel with me, Paul Anico quietly became the key silent partner in our team. And after Tim passed, Paul became my coach. Even though he beat me in '89, I still hired him. It was clear to me that Paul knew what I was all about. In fact, Paul would get to know me better than anyone else as a tennis player. We had a very unique relationship, one that I think is very rare to find. Paul, he knew how to really keep things simple and how to downplay things rather than ramp up an occasion. We really clicked that way. Yet he still quietly pushed me to play a certain way, pushed me to to attack and to chip in charge and impose my will on my opponents. And Paul wasn't a big rah-rah guy. He didn't say a whole lot, but the things he said I took to heart. I won a lot of majors with Paul. I won a lot of tournaments with Paul. But Paul, he never got the credit he deserved. He wasn't looking for the limelight. He wasn't looking for the attention or the credit. But deep down in me, I know what he meant for my career. So thanks, Paul. Yeah. In the late summer of '99, I had to put out the U.S. Open with a back injury. It was the best injury of my life because that's where I met my wife, Bridget. We've been married almost 7 years. We have 2 great kids, Ryan and Christian. When I met Bridget, Bridget was involved in a very successful acting career, but she put everything aside to travel with me and support me. In the final 2 hardest years of my career, she became my rock and my sounding board. I was struggling with issues that I had never faced before. But through it all, Bridget kept me together with her empathy and compassion, her selflessness and light. She had to live with me at a time when it couldn't have been fun. Yet her unwavering loyalty and faith in me kept me strong at a time when I was losing faith in myself. In fact, I remember a conversation we had one night. I just lost in the second round of Wimbledon. It was the lowest point of my career, and I was thinking about retiring, and maybe it was time for me to move on. But she said these words that I'll never forget, and she said, "I will support you in whatever you decide to do, but promise me one thing, that when you do go out, it will be on your terms." Those words resonated deep within me. They stayed with me. They became this new fuel that I needed to hear to win my record 14th major in 2002. It was the last official tournament that I ever played. I remember after winning the match, and I went up to embrace Bridget, and she was pregnant at the time, and I felt this unbelievable partnership, and it was a team effort. So you got me through the toughest time of my career, so I thank you. But Bridget and I, we've been through a lot together in a short amount of time. And I'm constantly reminded why I married Bridget. She is committed and loyal. She's an amazing mother. And beyond that, she loves me in a way that I've never known. And then through that, she's opened me up in ways I never thought possible. I'm more comfortable and happier that she is by my side. And I laugh a lot more, but not today. She's my rock, and I hope that I'm hers. I just want to say thank you for everything that I love you. guess I bottled up emotion for 16 years, and now you're seeing it, huh? But tennis has represented a big part of my life. It's given me a lifetime of memories and lessons, all of which I will carry with me forever. At the end of the day, the thing I'm most proud of is I never strayed from my core values. From the attitudes and philosophy passed on even from my parents and men like Rod Laver. I embraced the quiet way, and I walked the high road as best I could. Above all, I wanted to represent myself, my family, and the game in a way which we could all be proud of. So as I take my place among the greatest players of all time here in the Hall of Fame, I stand before you both humbled and grateful. I'm a tennis player. Nothing more and nothing less. It's more than enough for me. It always has been. I thank you.
Pete, you thought playing in Grand Slam finals was tough, didn't you? It's a privilege to give you our blazer, our Hall of Fame certificate, and welcome you, Pete Sampras, into the International Tennis Hall of Fame.